to my channel. Today I'm gonna be talking about my 3 most recent reads. So these are the books that I've read most recently, and I'm gonna tell you what they are and I'm gonna tell you what I think about them. As a background, I am not by any means a literature critic. I'm not even a literature student. I simply like reading books, and I simply find this video helpful when I want to find a new read, and that's why I'm going to share this with you. Now, I read all of my books on my e-reader. I have a Kindle. I don't usually buy physical books just because that I don't find them practical. I am an international student, and that's why when I go back to my home country, I don't really want to bring a ton of physical books with me because they're heavy and they're not very practical. When I am in my home country, I do prefer to buy physical books because I feel like they're the best experience ever. Like, the smell of new books is something that I love. For practical reasons now, I prefer to buy my books as an ebook. These are the most recent that I've read. The first one is The Underground Railroad. It is written by Colson Whitehead. So here's the blurb for The Underground Railroad. Cora is a slave on a cotton plantation in Georgia. Life is hellish for all the slaves, but especially bad for Cora, an outcast even among her fellow Africans. She is coming into womanhood where even greater pain awaits. When Caesar, a recent arrival from Virginia, tells her about the Underground Railroad, they decide to take a terrifying risk and escape. Matters do not go as planned, and though they manage to find a station and head north, they are being hunted. This book, The Underground Railroad, is the most recent release in my list today because this has only been released last year compared to other books in my list that have been around for years. I discovered this book through Sunbeamsjess monthly book club. I really like Sunbeamsjess. I like her video. I've been subscribed to her for ages. I love her vlogs, and I find that the books that she has in her book club is very, very intriguing, and that's why I decided to give this one a go. This book mainly focuses on a girl named Cora who has spent her whole life in a farm in Georgia, back when slavery is still the norm in the southern plantations in America. The story follows Cora in her escape from the farm through a secret underground railroads. From what I understand, Underground Railroad was a term used for a chain of safe houses used by slaves in their escape from their farms to northern America, where slavery doesn't really exist the way it does in the southern part of. In this book, this term is interpreted as an actual underground railroad. I find this book to be very gripping, but it is very hard to read, mostly because the descriptive parts of the book are very vivid that it sometimes becomes too grotesque for me to read. And once I put it down, I wasn't very keen to pick it up again for the reasons that I told you. Now, when you do read it, then you want to continue reading it because you want to know what happens next. As I said, it was very gripping. By no means it was a bad book, but I don't find it enjoyable personally because it was just too grotesque for me. So my second most recent reads is actually a series, not a single book. This series is called the Uglies series, and it is written by Scott Westerfeld. Now, this book is actually a 3-part series. So here is the blurb for the first book of the Uglies series, Uglies. Tally is about to turn 16 and she can't wait. In just a few weeks, she'll have the operation that will turn her from a repellent ugly into a stunning pretty. And as a pretty, she'll be catapulted into a high-tech paradise where her only job is to have fun. But Tally's new friend Shay isn't sure she wants to become a pretty. When Shay runs away, Tally learns about a whole new side of the pretty world, and it isn't very pretty. The authorities offer Tally a choice: find her friend and turn her in, or never turn pretty at all. Tally's choice will change her world forever. I discovered it through a BuzzFeed article about young adult books that may be turned into a movie or a TV series. I read the blurb, then I was immediately intrigued. So this book is set on a dystopian but seemingly utopian universe where everybody gets a makeover when they turn 16. Before their 16th birthday, everyone was considered an ugly. The makeover is basically an extreme plastic surgery routine where the doctors will basically strip everything, every imperfections that you have on your face and your body, and they would give you a new face and a new body that is perfected. They are all about symmetry in their faces. The series follows the main character Tally, beginning when she was still an ugly. At the beginning of the series, she was visiting her friend Paris, who has been turned into a pretty. Now Paris is a new pretty. That means that he hasn't been a pretty for very long, and that is why they live in the new pretty town. Shortly after, Tally befriended a fellow ugly named Shay. They happened to share the same exact birthday. And from there on, their adventure is revealed throughout the whole series. Now, I won't tell you much about the plot, but I can tell you the titles of the books. Now, the first book is called Uglies. The second one is called Pretties. The third one is called Specials. Well, from these titles alone, you can already tell that Tally is gonna be turned from an ugly to a pretty and then to a special. Specials are enhanced versions of pretties. They are designed to kill. And overall, they act like a special agent as opposed to a normal police officer. I also found the book to be very intriguing because it challenges the social stigma and perception of perfections and beauty. It also showed, interestingly, us as we are now, but we were called Rusties. Now, Rusties become extinct because their life becomes unsustainable. We face our doom because of our insufficiency. We also raise nature. I like the series as a whole, but I find myself unable to like any of the characters in the series apart from one called David. Other characters go through a lot of personality changes, which to some extent can be contributed from their change from an ugly to a pretty to a special. But even as the characters were still uglies, I find Tally to be very fickle-minded and almost like she has no will for herself. Throughout the series, she always seemed like she is acting out what other people want from her instead of what she wants for herself. I find the series to be very interesting to read, but personally, it wasn't my favorite series ever. Now, my third and final, most recent read for this video is the book We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. So here is the blurb from We Were Liars. We are Sinclairs, no one is needy, no one is wrong. We live, at least in the summertime, on a private island off the coast of Massachusetts. Perhaps that is all you need to know, except that some of us are liars. I can't actually remember when or how I heard about this because it has been around for a while, but I feel like it was one of those books that you hear constantly when it was popular like 2 or 3 years ago. It tells the story about a girl called Cadence Sinclair. Her family was rich, and that is why she spent all of her summers with her grandparents and cousins in a private island that her grandparents owned. The book begins with her recalling her life before an event called the Summer 15, which, as the name suggests, it was the summer in which she was 15 years old. It was established early on that something happened that summer, but she can't remember what. She only knows the aftermath, that she was not allowed to go back to the island for her summer 16, and she was left with crippling headaches. But she did came back on her summer 17, so 2 years after the event. And the book progressed as she remembers what happened on that summer 15. I find this book to be a very good read. It was mysterious with just enough hints to keep you going instead of just getting frustrated and leaving the book unread. It was very well written, and the ending was so unexpected, at least for me. It has a surprisingly deep insight into the character of Cadence. I think that if you haven't read this book, you definitely should read this. Okay guys, so that is all for my most recent reads. If you have read this book, let me know in the comment down below what you think of the books. And if you haven't, go check it out and tell me afterwards what you think of them. If you have any book recommendations that I should read next and I should talk about next, please leave them on the comments down below also. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time. Bye!